Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted as always to be joined by Danny. We have just seen GALAL Yafai become the second man to defeat Sonny Edwards by stoppage in the sixth round in Birmingham. Danny, bit of a strange one, not really as advertised. We were kind of expecting to see a good high level competitive fight tonight, and we didn't. We saw a bit of a beatdown from the first few seconds of the first round up until the stoppage. Give me your instant reaction, please.
Yeah, as you say, it really wasn't the fight I think anyone was expecting. Certainly not the fight I was expecting. It looked as if Sonny was going in there. I mean, a lot was made of how many rounds they've sparred together and how well they knew each other in the gym. And it looked as if one fighter was going in there for a spar, and one fighter had done a 12-week camp and was going in to win and win at all costs. I mean, the intensity Galal Yafai was fighting at, Sonny Edwards was never able to come close to matching. I mean, there wasn't even too many times when he attempted to get on his back foot. When he did, Yafai was able to cut off the ring. Edwards was able to land maybe a few eye-catching shots in each round, but he's never been renowned as a puncher, and they were having absolutely no effect. And whilst Yafai, not a one-punch knockout artist himself by any means, was still visibly so much stronger than Edwards, and the shots were visibly having much more of an effect. And yeah, I mean, we'll come on to maybe why the whys and hows the fight ended up looking like that, but I definitely wasn't expecting it to.
No, no, I think, yeah, as you said, we'll kind of get onto it. There's a bit to unpack, obviously, as some people who are watching this video might have seen. Sonny Edwards has announced his retirement in his post-fight interview. At the end of the second round, there was obviously we could hear him saying to his trainer he didn't really want to be there, which at the end of the second round of a 12 round contest is very disturbing. We're not talking at the end of kind of the 10th or the 11th round here. We were supposed to have 10 rounds ahead of us, and he said he didn't want to be there at the end of the second round. So concerning stuff. On the fight, Danny, were you okay with the stoppage? Um, Perhaps you could say you fired one every round, and I was taking a bit of beating. Some people might say it was a bit early. Give us your thoughts on the stoppage.
I had absolutely no issue with the stoppage. Maybe if Sonny Edwards was a renowned puncher, you would say maybe keep him in there. There was absolutely no way he was going to win that fight from then on in. There was no way he was going to win that fight from 3 or 4 rounds in. He looked absolutely exhausted. He had been hurt, not to any great extent, but visibly rocked by on basically every round. And I know he said in the post-fight interview he felt that could have gone on longer, but deep down he'll have no issues with that. He's protected his long-term health. I'm not saying I think he would have got prickly hurt, but he would have took more punches to the head, which he had no need to. So stoppage was absolutely fine for me. I mean, what's the point in Sonny Edwards staying in there another 2, 3 rounds, taking more of a beating, and because of Yafai's lack of punch power, Edwards would have had to either quit, his corner would have had to throw the towel in, or the referee would have had to stop it, which I think all three it would have sort of pointless exercise. So I've got no issue with the stoppage at all.
Yeah, it was coming. I personally think his corner must have been thinking about throwing the towel in, and yeah, given us three scenarios. Then if the fight had gone past round eight, I would have been
Yeah,
pretty shocked. I would say I only had a couple of rounds left, one way or another. Um, just gonna talk to you, Danny, about what we've kind of witnessed in regards to what Sonny Edwards was saying. Obviously, he split from his long-term trainer, Grant Smith, which was a surprise to some people. Not too long before the fight, feels like we don't know exactly when that happened.
yeah.
He's gone with a trainer who's not that well known, maybe to British boxing fans. Um, just your thoughts on what Edwards. Obviously, it's hard to know. We're not in training camp. We're not in training camp with Sonny Edwards, but just any thoughts on what you think Edwards' training camp might have been like, the shape he was in tonight, how prepared he was for this fight.
I get the feeling it was catastrophically bad, whatever it was. Like, if you told me, this is not what I was thinking before the fight, obviously, so a lot of this has been said in hindsight based on what we've seen. But if you told me Edwards trained 2 weeks for that fight, 3 weeks for that fight, I would believe you. I think when you look back to do you not think it was bizarre now that he done that interview with Boxing King Media, what, the day before the fight, talking about how he's like addicted to cigarettes, looking at it through the lens of what we just saw now, it sounds to me like a man who was getting his excuse ready.
Yeah.
I think he maybe knew his fitness wasn't going to be at where it was,
Mm.
and it's probably better reputation wise if people think, oh, it's because he's smoking all the time, as opposed to he's not trained, he's not took the fight seriously. So I think it must have been an absolute disaster of a camp, and you touched on having that new trainer, even if it was an excellent camp in terms of how disciplined he was, how often he went, I think it would be a fall off not being with Grant Smith, who's widely regarded as one of the best trainers in the country, and did seem to have a good thing going with Sonny, but you really wonder what went on behind closed doors there. I mean, his whole demeanor this week hasn't been the usual Sonny Edwards. Maybe that's because he had retirement on his mind. We don't know, but it can't have been a good camp.
No, no, it's there's a lot to unpack here, and we've got not got enough time to do it all tonight. But I think one thing about Sonny Edwards is it feels like at times he's not been himself, in the sense that Sonny Edwards a lot of the time has a lot to say for himself, which is fine. That's show business. That's the Sonny Edwards we've gotten to know over the years. And it felt like, I don't know if it's just because out of respect for GALAL Yafai or if it's something else, he's just seemed quite kind of humble this
Yeah.
this fight week for such a big fight, in a fight where the winner is expected to fight for a world title, whereas there's bragging rights at stake, there's the bloodline, whatever you want to call it, and it to me it felt like he was just very humble and not the Sonny Edwards we've seen kind of on Twitter and going back and forth over the years. Want to focus on the winner as well. We've got a winner tonight, Danny Galal Yafai, very impressive. Do you think he will fight WBC world champion Kenshiro Taraji in this next fight? Do you think that fight's going to happen next? I know we're not
Nah,
experts in the flyweight division, but yeah, give us your thoughts on what's going to happen next.
I don't think so because I saw a tweet from someone who cares a lot more about the flyweight division than me. I'll be real, I'll be honest. Who was saying that Taraji has a mandatory, I believe. So you would imagine this fight will not be called for a while. Even though I mean, how'd it work that you have a mandatory when there's an interim champion? I'm not too sure, but you'd imagine that'll be pushed a while. And it's still a very hard fight for Galal Yafai Taraji. He's someone actually I've watched a few times, and he's an excellent fighter. And it's hard to know because, like, what version of Sonny Edwards was in there, really? I mean,
Yeah.
when you factor in that Sonny Edwards at no point was on his back foot, is he that hard a fighter to beat just standing and having it with? He can't punch.
Mm, mm.
Can't if you can't punch and you don't have high volume because you're not fit, is that really a hard fighter to beat for a world level or even slightly below world level flyweight? I don't think it is. If I couldn't have done any better, you know what I mean? So that's one thing I don't want to be too harsh about him on. But I don't think that fight will be next. I don't know who is a good fight to target for him. There's no other domestic names.
No.
You know what I mean?
And he's not going to move up. He's not going to move down.
Yeah,
And I
it's
think
difficult.
my worry for your fight before this fight, and my worry still now, is he's about to turn 32, and a 32-year-old flyweight is an old flyweight.
He
So
needs to go now. That's the
yeah,
thing. He needs to go now.
yeah, that's the thing. 2025 needs to be a big year for him. Look, he's a big name in the division, so maybe Matt Shuramedi will be able to get another one of the world champions over to the UK for a world title fight, which I'm sure you'll find after tonight would you'd think would sell a lot of tickets in Birmingham. All
Yeah.
right, Danny, we'll leave it there. Yeah, just a bit of a shock tonight in terms of how things unfolded, and we'll see what happens next. Danny, thank you very much for your time, and I'll speak to you again very soon.
No problem, mate. Thanks.